All right, I trust you've read exercise 12 yourself. Basically, if more than 8% of the potatoes in the truck have blemishes, we're going to send the load somewhere else. Otherwise, we're going to use them to make chips. And when we say convincing evidence, we mean statistically significant evidence. So just because our sample proportion p hat might be above 8%, that doesn't mean that the entire truckload is above 8%. So that's what we're going to do. We'll take a sample of the potatoes in the truck, way too many to actually check every potato. And we want to know, is it statistically significant or not? And so here we go. So we sample 500 of the potatoes, and we discover that 47 have blemishes. And so our p hat, we know, is 47 over 500, which is 0.094, which is above the threshold, but this was only the sample. We have to figure out, is that reason to believe that the entire truckload has more than 8% blemished or not? And so the null hypothesis, that's supposed to be the null hypothesis, if nothing is going on, then the sample size is at or below 8%. We're going to go ahead and set it at 8%. That's kind of the most extreme case. Remember, we always set the null hypothesis to the most extreme case that we can and still be okay. If something is going on, then that means the proportion of bad potatoes is actually above that 8% cutoff. Those are the two options. So we want to see, is the sample size large enough to actually safely rely? You can check the chapter notes, and I need to update this. This should actually be chapter, let's see, 11 is what it should say. And so I'll fix that on your copy, but on the screen you'll see a chapter 10 there. Okay, so I'm going to take my sample size of 500. I'm going to multiply by the null hypothesis value of 0.08, and I get 40. We wanted at least 10, so that's fine. And then I'm also going to go the other way and say times 0.92. And of course, I'm going to get more than 10 because I got more than 10 the other one. So we're good to go. So we can say yes, we are good to go. All right, so carry out a test for significance. I'm going to compute my test statistic z. I take my sample proportion p hat, 0.094. I subtract the null hypothesis value for p. Then I divide by 0.08, the null hypothesis value for p, 1 minus that of 0.92. Divide everything there by n, which is 500. Check the formula that you have on your formula sheet, and you'll get 1.15. Not a super huge statistic for the normal distribution. So we're interested in the probability that z is greater than or equal to 1.15. It doesn't matter whether you just put greater than or greater than or equal. The point is this symbol goes there. And so you compute this using your table, and you'll get 0.12507. It's a pretty large p-value. We actually have a cutoff level right there. So our cutoff level was also extremely generous. It was all the way up to 0.1, and we're still above that. And so the bottom line is we're good to go. The null hypothesis is that everything is good, that this potatoes are fine, and our p-value was high, so we don't reject the null hypothesis. So let's first off say we fail to reject the null hypothesis, which means we're accepting the null hypothesis, which means that the potatoes are at or below 0.08, and so we should not reject this shipment of potatoes. All right, and that's it.